What I find interesting is that since I have converted, I have been dreaming of bombs and missiles. I find that very interesting. Well, first, I want to start with reading John 16:13. It says this: When the Spirit of truth has come, he will guide you into all truth, for he will not speak on his own authority, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will tell you things to come. It also says in Joel chapter 2, verse 28, And it shall come to pass afterwards that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams. Your young men shall see visions. Hi, I just wanted to get on here and just speak from my heart some things that have been happening around my intimate circle that I think maybe, you can listen to and hopefully put in prayer as well as I have for the past couple of years. And it's about the future of the United States. And it may be correlated to the war that's going on in Ukraine. So when I was about 17 years old, God used to give me a lot of dreams, a lot of, very rarely he would give me visions, but he would give me some dreams and it would just warn me of things to come, or it would show me the heart of a person. And this is not because I'm anything special. God does this with anyone that places themselves in God's hands. So this happens to many believers all over the world, not just me. And so God guides them and keeps them from harm in this way and reveals them things to come so that they can prepare. Just like Joseph. If you know the story of Joseph, and how he went through all the things that he went through in his youth, he ended up in the king's palace and was brought up to being a leader in the kingdom because he was able to interpret certain dreams that the king had. And God showed himself to the king to prepare for a famine, a 7-year famine. There was going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. And so that's just an example of what God can do in our lives. Going back to the story, I was young. I was on fire for God. And I remember this one dream that always stuck with me. And I remember seeing the world. I saw pieces of land close up, and I saw how little bombs started blowing up everywhere. All of a sudden, it was as if I saw the world from a different view in a distance, like if I was in outer space and I saw the whole circle of the earth, and those bombs kept blowing until the whole world got engulfed in fire. And so I always told, my friends and people close by, I always think that, the world is going to end in this way because I had this dream and it's going to end up burned up in fire. But I didn't know that what the Bible said. In 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 10, it says, The elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. That speaks of the end time. So years later, I have another dream. There's this theme of bombs and wars throughout the history of my life. So I have another dream. And in this dream, I'm in a large boat. And I see lots of missiles coming my way, huge missiles. At the time, I wasn't living with my parents. I was in Massachusetts and I was living with a roommate at the time. And I go and tell her, what's strange? I had a dream about war. And I explained it to her and I'm like, we haven't had a war. We're not even near any type of conflict to have a war, And I kept questioning myself, is this going to happen in the future? God forbid. And so I think about a year passed by around there, and I was in a college lounge, and they had the TV on and they had the news. All of a sudden I saw people gathering and around the TVs, and that's where I saw the Twin Towers fall in New York City. September 11, 2001 was when they fell. And about 3 years after that began the Iraq War in the Middle East. So this dream was alluding to something that was going to come in my territory, the United States. And it came to pass. So fast forward, I get married, I move to New York because my husband's from New York, and he has a dream. Now, in this dream, he was in a temple, in a church, in a stone church. And there was chaos everywhere. People were like running around and yelling, he says. And then all of a sudden, like the roof blew. It's like the roof blew off, and he was calling me, and when he found me, he started pushing me up out of a wall, and from there, so we started running, and when he looks back, he saw that from heaven, boulders, big rock boulders fell from heaven and slammed to the earth, that spelled Guerra, and it's a Spanish word for war. You could, the way you say it in Spanish is guerra. It's spelled out guerra. So in 2021, which was one of the most recent dreams he had, he dreams another dream, and he saw how missiles, huge missiles around, were coming out from underneath the water in U.S. shorelines. All over the U.S. shorelines, there were these huge missiles coming up from under the water. So these two dreams to me are very clear. Well, the first dream that he had was not an enigma. It was not like lots of symbols that you have to kind of like put together a puzzle to figure out or search out scripture. God spelled it out in stone. But it doesn't stop there. He has a conversation in February. So we're in April. So in February, he had this conversation with his uncle about, Ukraine, and he mentioned his dreams. All of a sudden he says, well, I had a dream in about 2018 where I saw Asian people that seemed to sort of invade, come into U.S. territory in northern U.S., and they started to arrest or grab a hold of the powers, the people in authority in the United States and Northern America. When he told me this, I was like, we cannot doubt that. This is God warning us. We cannot doubt that God is speaking, and this is why I feel like I need to let it out. I remember I also had a dream that I spoke of on my Facebook page. I was sitting at a park, and I had spoken about this dream where I was warning people. A storm was coming. And in the dream, I was trying to wake people up. I was trying to warn them because a storm was coming. The clouds were getting darker. It was getting closer, the storm. And I remember pulling people. I was trying to wake them up because everybody was sleeping, and I kept trying to wake them up and pulling them to safety away from the windows. I mentioned as well in that video that I saw like a helicopter, like a safety helicopter, but one thing I did not dare mention because I was unsure of it at the time was that I remember seeing a big machine got up from below the window of the place, and it was like this big machine that was it was kind of like monitoring or something, radar type machine. And all of a sudden, this big bright light, like if it was like a bomb about to blow. And then that's it. I never told that part because I didn't dare to. But it's just too many things not to pay attention to it. Now, it is true that over 2,000 years ago, God had written all of this in the Bible. Wars and rumors of war should not be of any surprise. However, the Bible doesn't specify all the cities that will be affected, all the countries that will be affected. It doesn't specify what time they will come, if we're near those specific wars. We know that there's going to be a big tribulation, but that's separate. That's that's something on another level. This is so that we can pray. We can intercede about this, because when God shows us about famines, about all these things, and that we're nearing a famine or nearing a war or nearing whatever it is that's coming, a flood or whatever, that we can be prepared for what's to come, but especially not only materially but spiritually, that we can prepare, because we don't know what tomorrow may bring. I always say this, I sound like it was so repetitive, but we don't know what tomorrow may bring. So we don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. And so if God has been giving so many warnings, and we're not the only ones, people all over the world, people especially in America, are having like similar experiences. Something's coming, something big is coming. What I find interesting is that since I have converted, I have been dreaming of bombs and missiles. I find that very interesting, and sometimes I feel like it's going to be in her lifetime because of that. But I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or in 20 years or in the next generation. All I know is it's coming. I don't know if it will be an end result of this Ukraine war. I don't know if the war in Ukraine will finish. I don't know. All I know is that God is speaking and that we need to listen. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 says, "If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal their land." It's time to reflect and get our hearts right with God, because the time is near. I would suggest you that you pray, seek God for yourself. And if the Spirit confirms in your spirit that this comes from God, put it in prayer. We need to pray more now than ever. And those who do not serve God, look for Christ. There's nothing better than to serve Christ. In this world, there's chaos, there's all sorts of evil things. But if you fight and you do what's right and you accept Christ, at the end, you still win. You will be with him forever, and you're not going to remember all the tears, all the sickness, all the things you had to go through here. Never more. You'll never remember it again. The lion and the lamb will be playing together. Kids will be playing with snakes. You won't be worried about all the things that you're worried here. And you'll be eternally with your Father in heaven. And you don't have to be depressed. You don't have to go through stress anymore. So accept him today. He has so many things in store for you. God bless you.